Good morning, children. Today's lesson is meant for class 10. This is poem number 3. The title of the poem is A Tiger in the Zoo. Well, children, you'd like to ask what is this title, A Tiger in the Zoo by Leslie Norris, meant for? Well, obviously, the poet depicts in this poem the you know fact that the tiger is not in a good mental condition. So, the present poem depicts the mental status of the caged tiger. A tiger is caged in a concrete cell in the zoo and he doesn't experience freedom, and therefore, the tiger undergoes some sort of, discomfort. So, the poet tries to depict the fact that the tiger wants freedom. The message is that the wild animals should be left in their natural habitat rather than imprisoning them in concrete cell. And the contrast is that the contrast that has been heightened by the poet is between freedom and captivity. Like every living being, tiger also needs freedom, and therefore he, instead of keeping him in captivity, he should allow to walk freely in his natural habitat. Now we shall go line by line, the stanza wise explanation. He stalks in his vivid stripes the few steps of his gaze, or on pads of velvet quiet in his quiet rage. Rage means anger, velvet means soft here, and vivid means clear. Stripes are the mark on his body, they are just the spot on his body. So the poet in this stanza, the first stanza, sees a tiger caged in a concrete cell in a zoo. What does the poet see? The poet sees a tiger caged in a very narrow cell in a zoo, and then he finds that in a very small cage, the tiger is trying hardly to take a few steps along the length of the cage. The cage is so narrow that he is hardly able to take a few steps walk along the length of the cage. He slowly moves up and down in his cage. The sharp and clear stripes on his body are of a strong bright color. His pads, the soft part of his leg or his foot, his pads are velvet, soft. In spite of his strength, he now lies quite imprisoned behind the bar. The caged tiger is angry. He is not happy, and therefore he is full of rage. Rage means anger, and quiet. Why he is quiet? Despite being angry, he is quiet because he knows that he is helpless. He cannot find freedom. He cannot come out of the cage. So, despite the fact that the tiger is, I mean, quite angry, he is quite helpless. He's lying helpless in the cage and doesn't, show any kind of happiness on his face. Stanza 2. He should be lurking in shadow, sliding through long grass near the waterhole where plump deer pass. In the second stanza, the poet imagines that this tiger should have been in his natural habitat and hiding in the shadow of the trees. He should have been in his natural habitat, hunting and resting. Then, at this hour of the night, he would have been trying to hide under the shadow of the trees and sliding quietly through the long grass. He should find some fat deer passing through. That means, had he been left, in his natural habitat, that is jungle, he should have been hiding behind the shadows of the grass. He should have been waiting for the some fat, I mean deer, to pass through, and he would have a very nice feast, that means food, for that hour. This clearly suggests that the poet is very much sympathetic, and though he takes a pity on the helpless tiger, but he is very much sympathetic and imagines that somehow the tiger should be made free to walk in his natural habitat. In that condition, he should be lurking, means hiding behind the shadows of the trees. He should have been waiting for the deers to pass and should be pouncing upon them for his feast, for his food. Now in stanza 3, the poet says he should be snarling around houses at the jungle's edge, baring his white fangs, his claws, terrorizing the village. In the third stanza, terrorizing means threatening, making them fearful, and snarling also means being angry. That means to make an angry and warning sound. So, and bearing means sowing. So, in that stanza, third stanza, the poet says that the poet just imagines that the tiger would be doing certain things. He would be doing in case if he failed to find any victim or any prey for his food, then he says that the tiger would be angrily moving around the houses in a nearby village. He would be growling at the edge of the village, at the edge of the jungle. He would be showing just white fangs and terrible claws. Thus, the poet here gives a hint that if we do not allow the wild animals to be free and to live in their natural habitat, and if we continue to destroy their natural habitat, cut down the trees and destroy their natural habitat, then they will be compelled to come around the residents of the people and terrorize the people. And in the fourth stanza, the poet says that the tiger is locked in a very concrete cell in the zoo. In spite of all his strength, he now lies imprisoned and helpless. The length of the cage is so narrow and so small that he hardly moves, and therefore whenever he moves in an angry and threatening manner. He completely ignores the visitors, though he watches the visitors, but he ignores them because they are not concerned about his freedom, and he knows that he will not be free to walk in his natural habitat. Last but not the least, the poet makes an appeal that the animals, like any living being, also longs for freedom. Therefore, the poet is making an appeal to the readers and is giving a message that we should allow the wild animals to live in their natural habitat. We should not cut down the trees and destroy their natural living place. And we should understand that, like any other living being, tigers also want freedom. And there is always a contrast between freedom and captivity. No living being can live in captivity happy and free, and therefore we should not make any wild animal captive. Rather, we should allow them to live a free life in their natural habitat. Thanks a lot.